Oh, hello.
Hello!
I didn't see you there. I have a question. Are you just passively watching off-grid living and homesteading videos instead of actively moving toward your very own off-grid homestead? Hey, I get it. But what if 2026 was the year that you could actually stop watching and start doing? And maybe you're just on the fence. You're peeking over to see if the grass is any greener over there. So over the next several minutes, I'm going to share 5 things with you that I think might give you the nudge you need to make a decision. And I can pretty much guarantee the number 3 is going to change the way that you feel about the place that you live now. So, if that sounds interesting to you, let's talk about it. Reason number 1, off-grid living and homesteading is a financially sustainable lifestyle. And if things keep going the way they're going, 2026 is going to be the year that the math is basically undeniable. Back in the city, we were paying $2,800 a month just for rent. That's $33,000 a year to live in someone else's house, building them equity, living in an expensive city. Since moving out here, the amount of money that we have to make just to get by is so much lower than it was. It's become a lot more comfortable, and it's freed us up to do other things. Land prices, you ask? Well, they've actually stabilized. And with the housing slowdown of 2024 and 2025, rural land is more accessible than it's ever been, especially in places like Tennessee, Arkansas, Missouri, where you can get small buildable plots for $4,000 to $8,000 per acre, and larger plots for as low as $800 an acre. And if you want to go modest with your first off-grid homestead, you could do 5 to 10 acres for $20,000 to $40,000, which is less than we were paying for 1 year of rent for a lifetime of ownership. And here's what's harder to recognize. Your mortgage on land about that price point is going to be between $300 and $500 a month. Add to that a small used RV or build a small cabin for under 15 grand, and you're looking at between $800 and $1,000 a month for your monthly expenses. In our case, that would be $1,800 to $2,000 back in our pocket, or at least that we didn't have to make every single month just to get by. But the best part about it is you own it. No landlord, no rent going up again, no asking permission to paint the walls a certain color or to put in a garden or even raise chickens. That's not just saving money. That's financial sustainability. That gives you the freedom to work less, stress less, and actually be around to experience being part of your family, which I can say from experience is probably one of the best benefits of making a transition like this. Except for when the kids decide to eat all your snacks. That's unacceptable behavior. Like I said before, 2026 is going to be the year that the math on off-grid living and homesteading is going to be undeniable. When everyone else you know is yelling, the rent's too damn high, the electricity company raised my bill again, and groceries are too expensive, you'll be building equity in your land, finishing projects, making your life more comfortable, creating your own energy, growing your own food, and finally, living your life for a living. I think that sounds pretty awesome. Reason number 2, off-grid living and homesteading is by far the most effective form of protest. And I don't even care what side of the political spectrum you fall on. Our system was designed for it to work for a very specific and select group. And I'm just gonna take a wild guess that if you're spending the time to watch my YouTube videos, you ain't them. The financial system is designed to keep you on a hamster wheel. From 2021 to 2024, wages increased a whopping 21.5%, but the cost of everything went up 22.7%. So you're making more money on paper, you're working harder, and you're still falling behind. It's almost as if it's set up for you to make just enough to keep doing it, never actually getting ahead. The political system, which is a joke, and I mean right wing, left wing, same vulture. That system is set up to keep us divided so that we fight amongst ourselves, so that the people who have any real say get their way more often than anybody else does, regardless of popularity of policy. A 2014 Princeton study analyzed 1,800 different policy decisions and found that when economic elites are behind a policy, it has a 45% chance of becoming law. But if they don't want it to become law, it has an 18% chance of becoming that. No matter how many marches or protests, any of the different variables that we get out to vote for, doesn't matter. What that same study found was that the average person has little to no effect, even in numbers, on what becomes law or doesn't. The medical system is incentivized to keep you just well enough so that you can go to work tomorrow, so you can contribute to society, but just sick enough so that you have to continue going back, putting yourself on medications that you're going to have to take for the rest of your life, ensuring that you are a customer to that system forever. Now, I know individual doctors and nurses and people who work in hospitals want to help people who are sick, but the entire system as a whole doesn't have healing you completely so that you can live your best life as its goal. Chronic disease management generates up to $350,000 per 100 patients for most providers. That market is projected to hit $19 billion per year by 2033. So with off-grid living and homesteading, every tomato you grow is a protest against industrial agriculture. And every gallon of water that you catch is a protest against municipality. Every kilowatt hour that you generate is a protest against utility companies who on average increase your bill between 10 and 14%, at least for the last decade, every single year. And it has the added benefit of taking money out of the pot that they use to throw their annual shareholder meetings at the base of a volcano wearing cloaks and masks. Anytime I ever see people arguing about who needs to be in charge or what needs to be done to fix those systems, I imagine two folks standing at the edge of a cliff and a car flying down the hill, jumping off the cliff, hitting the ground and exploding, and then those two people arguing over who gets to do the body work. Our systems are more than likely beyond repair. But in 2026, when everybody's arguing over who gets to be in charge of the House of Representatives, you'll actually be in charge of your food, of your energy, of your health, your wellness, your happiness. This isn't about being anti-government or anti-society or anti-anything for that matter. It's about being pro-you and pro-yours, pro-sovereignty and pro-responsibility. Because the truth is, anything you can be responsible for, you can do something about. But anything that you can't take responsibility for, you are doomed to always be a victim of. That's just a fact. All of those systems that are not meant for us to win in, the thing that fuels those things is your dependency. Those systems were designed to make you dependent. But off-grid living and homesteading makes you dangerous. And then there's reason number 3, and that's life on a cattle ranch. I had a conversation with a friend one time before we moved out here where he asked, why would you ever want to live off-grid? Now, I knew he didn't really want an answer because he followed that question up with living in the city. I have medicine. Any type of food that I could possibly ever want is there anytime I want it. Entertainment. I have a good job. And if I'm ever in trouble, one phone call to the police, and they're there in a couple of minutes. And I said, okay, so let me get this straight. You want to live in a city so that you can be medicated, can be fed, can be entertained, can have a job that you spend all your time at just to sustain this existence. And so you can make someone other than yourself responsible for your safety? He said, yeah. I mean, that's modern life. I said, it's also how you run cattle. In my opinion, cities are little more than cattle ranches for people. But here's the question. Do ranchers do what they do to take care of their cattle for the sake of the cows? Livestock spends their entire life afraid of the wolf. End up getting eaten by the rancher. Now, I can be a lot. Ask anyone who knows me in real life, and they'll tell you I'm an acquired taste who has not the easiest person to get along with. Damned if I can remember the last conversation other than that one that I had with him. I suspect we're not friends anymore. A shift is happening. And in 2026, I imagine the ranchers are going to start getting nervous. Because with off-grid living and homesteading, you're not cattle anymore. More and more people are waking up to the fact that convenience isn't freedom, and safety isn't security, and access is certainly not ownership. So if you can become the rancher of your own life, maybe 2026 is the year we can all do a little free ranging together. Know what I mean? Dad noises. Oh. Reason number 4, off-grid living and homesteading is a hedge against an uncertain future. Now look, I don't know what 2026 is going to hold. Nobody does. But I am a believer in trends. The job market? Monthly job growth plummeted 50% from 2024 to 2025. Unemployment is projected to grow to 4.5% by early 2026. And AI? Goldman Sachs projects that it's going to displace between 6 and 7% of the current workforce if it's widely adopted. And then there's wealth consolidation. Billionaires' fortunes grew by $1.9 trillion in 1 year alone. That's 3 times more than the global economy. And then you got global conflict. State-based armed conflict is the top threat of 2025. Supply chain disruptions are up 30% this year. You got the war in Ukraine, the Middle East, Sudan, not to mention the threat of conflict between nuclear-powered countries. I'm doing my best not to fearmonger here, but I am reading the room. Here's what most people miss when they're talking about this subject until it's too late. All that chaos, it attacks the bottom of the pyramid: food, shelter, energy, safety. That's the foundation of your hierarchy of needs. When you organize your life in a way that takes care of those basic needs, when you know your family's going to get fed, regardless of what happens out there, something shifts. The things you have to do just to survive lose all power over you. Your freedom to pursue interests and passions or purposes increases significantly. That's how I define freedom. Not having to do something out there just to survive. And as a result, using that time to do whatever you want. In 2026, when everybody else is scrambling to adapt to whatever comes, we'll already be adapted. Our basic needs are taken care of. Our foundation is strong. And when you're not fighting for survival, that's when living actually begins. That's freedom. That's a hedge against whatever comes. And maybe 2026 is the year that you can build that for yourself. Reason number 5, the problem with your problems. Modern life is overwhelmingly complex. And I'm not just talking about busy. I'm talking about the sheer number of problems that you're expected to solve on a daily basis. Traffic, deadlines, bills, meetings, emails, notifications, drama at work, drama online, systems breaking down, appointments, obligations. And here's what hit me when we moved out here. It's not that there's too many problems. It's that they're bad problems. Ask yourself this question. What do the problems that I have to solve today give me in return for my attention to them? You sit in traffic to get to work, so that you can sit in traffic to get home, so that you can rest to sit in traffic to go to work again. You go to work so you can pay your bills, so you can make it to work to pay your bills again. If solving your problems today only gives you the opportunity to solve them again tomorrow, well, then you haven't solved anything. And since there is no terminated end-all be-all solution to those types of problems, those are not good problems to have. Out here, the problems are simple, and they have actual solutions, which makes them good problems. Problems that are rewarding to solve. If I fix the chicken wire on the chicken coop, the chickens are safer. That's a return. If I tend to the garden, my family eats better. That's a return. If I maintain my solar array, my family has power regardless of power outages or whatever else is happening out there. That's a return. Every problem that I solve here on the homestead, 100% of the value of my effort goes towards my family surviving better, living a better life, being more comfortable and happier. Unlike the average corporate job where you're only really receiving a fraction of the value that you're producing with your efforts. So solving these problems actually gives me more value for my time and effort, making them by definition better problems to put my attention on. That's not just productivity, that is literally the definition of happiness. 2026 is going to be the year to trade bad problems for good ones, to simplify life and to be able to focus on solving problems that actually give you something back for the long run. Because in my humble opinion, life is way too short to spend it solving bad problems. So if you're ready to trade away the bad problems for the good ones, the complexity for simplicity, here's where to start. I actually wrote 2 books on this subject. The first one, called Off Grid on a Shoestring Budget, shows you step-by-step how to acquire off-grid property even if you don't have a pot in which to make tinkle. And the second book is actually a collection of stories and lessons that I've learned living this lifestyle, which have led me to determine what the actual skills are that result in success living this lifestyle, and then how you can build those skills. And you can download them for whatever you want to pay, even if what you want to pay is nothing. The link is in the description. I hope they help you get where you want to go. This channel exists to help you figure out how to do this for yourself, how to build freedom one step at a time on a ridiculously low budget. So hit the subscribe button down here. We drop new videos every week about budget homesteading, off-grid living systems, and how to actually accomplish this for yourself, regardless of where you're starting. I'd love to hear from you. What is going to be the first step that you take toward getting to your off-grid homestead in 2026? I'm not entirely delusional. I know this lifestyle isn't for everyone. I just want to make this lifestyle accessible to anyone. And that's why I do this. So, hopefully for you, 2026 will be the year that you can trade in all those bad problems for some good ones. And I hope to catch you in the next one. Oh, more dad noises. Oh.